Hey everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Riley McLaughlin, and I am the content manager here at Main Street ROI. And today I am joined by Beatrice and Aiswarya of WordLift. And before I pass it off to them, I'm going to run through some quick housekeeping. So today's webinar is being recorded. So tomorrow morning you can expect an email with a link to the recording and a link to the slides as well. Also, we are going to do Q&A for today's webinar. We're going to hold that to the end though, so that we can get through the presentation. But if you have questions, please put those in the questions box, which you should see on the right-hand side of the screen, and we'll get to those at the end. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Beatrice.
Hi everyone. So let's delve into the presentation. For those of us who don't know, me and Aiswarya. So we thought we might ask to Perplexity AI, since this is the latest trend. We were lucky enough to get pretty accurate results. So I am head of innovation at WordLift. I have indeed 9 years of experience in digital marketing and SEO, and I've been working at WordLift for almost 8 years now. I'll pass it on to Aiswarya.
Aiswarya, it looks like you're muted. There we go.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you, Pia. Thank you, Riley. Thank you for having me today. I'm really looking forward to this. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. Hope we make it worth your time. So I am Aiswarya, like the screen says. Really happy to see this because I do have someone from my country with a similar name, and she is an actress. So I really did not expect to see an accurate knowledge panel here. Pretty sure she takes up, the lion's share of the surf, but still very glad that whatever you see here, that's all about me. I've been with WordLift for the past 2 years. Beautiful 2 years that's been here, and overall I have about 6 years of experience. Started off with marketing and then got the opportunity to dive deep into SEO. I love content, quite evident in the subsequent slides, but looking forward to sharing a lot of insights. And yeah, that's about me.
So yeah, we both work at WordLift, as you might have understood, and everything at WordLift starts with a knowledge graph. So what we do is get data from our clients in almost every format and integration, and then we structure this information and data inside the knowledge graph, and then we build AI apps on top of it. So our technology, what it does, it enables our clients to build their own AI models and enabling them to grow traffic on their sites. So let's start with the Google algo leak. So I'm sure that everyone has by now come across many articles about it. There are indeed some mentions to small personal sites that have been attributed to how small sites can rank on Google. There is also the belief that there's always been this domain authority around the score that now we know it's called site authority by Google, that tends to promote bigger websites with bigger domain authority. This is true on one hand, but on the other hand, from our experience, we know that a website doesn't have to be big to be established as a trusted source of information. And this is what we have been doing, because we do not only work with Fortune 500 clients or big domains. We also have a lot of clients that we are helping building their authority online, and they are just small business, few people business. So it's also true that Google considers ranking factors, the quality and the helpfulness of content. So with this in mind, our three stables are good and informative content. So content is definitely something that can help building a brand. Structured data can help making this content more visible, and the SEO best practices are there to make sure that your website can be turned into ranking material. So here we want to show today how we are helping small businesses increase their online relevance with structured data and AI-generated content. So as I said, everything at WordLift starts with a knowledge graph. So let's see what really is a knowledge graph in SEO. So it is a semantic framework that maps out the relations between various pieces of information, making it available to search engines and AI systems. So knowledge graph hand over information to these search engines, making them more understandable because they are in the form of metadata, which is the same languages that these search engines speak. So this is how it looks. So we worked with KGC, the Knowledge Graph Conference. They are a small event organizers. They are a couple of people, the founders, so it's a small organization. And we help them building their knowledge graph to be published online. So we took all the information about their event and we organized it inside the knowledge graph in nodes, triples, and then we connected all this information between themselves. So as you can see, we've got all type of information mapped out. We've got the name of the event, the location, the start and end date of the event, the attendance mode, if it was in person or remote, the organizer. Then we specified more information about the organization, and then the performers. So we also build a knowledge graph for the speakers at this conference. So this is how a knowledge graph looks like, how structured data really looks like in a graphic form, which is something that is much of a debate. So what knowledge graphs do, they are the go-to solution also when traditional SEO methods might not be as effective, because sometimes we have to deal with something that is scarce by definition, which is time. So when we are handing over information inside a knowledge graph to the web, we are doing it so that they can understand much faster the content that we are publishing. So instead of having Google or other search engines crawl into all the content that you are publishing, we are sending over a signal and a direction for Google to univocally claim what that web page is about. So better understanding that results in more visibility and better discoverability for the end user. So this is what this is what structured data looks like. This is a service markup for one of our small clients. They are Ready Bag USA. They are a bag manufacturer company based in New York. So as you can see inside the structured data, we have highlighted everything that's already inside the page. So we transformed everything that is inside, that is on the front end of the web page in the form of metadata. So you can see the name of the service, the name of the product or the service, the URL that we are referring to, and then we, in this case, also specified the area served. So where do they ship and where do they operate? So of course, then we also included information about the provider, so specifying who Ready Bag is, and everything that this page is telling to the users, we are then telling to search engines. So this is one example of one service markup, so one type of markup. Here we have another example for a restaurant markup. So you can see it's really comprehensive on the left-hand side of the screen. you can add really as many specifications for a business inside a local business entity type. So a local business entity type, it's a macro area of smaller markups. So in red, you can see all the different markups that it supports, and they are really a lot. And if your business is not included amongst these, there is still the local business, the umbrella name, local business markup that you can adapt to your own business. So this restaurant markup is special because it contains information about everything that this specific restaurant is serving, because we have included also a special markup for their menu. So we had the children menu markup, the senior menu markup, and then the opening hours, the address, the area where they have delivery enabled. So we added everything, every type of information inside the structured data. So what structured data really does is labeling each item of the website univocally. So for every page, every major page, every product or service page contains information that then we can send over to search engines so that they can univocally understand what that page is about. So one example that is often made is apple or apple. So it's apple the fruit or apple the brand. So this is exactly it. Search engines have to univocally understand what that content is about. This is why, because with clear labels, Google and of course other engines and other AI ecosystem can quickly understand what your website is about and what your organization does. And then it can fit this information into their giant knowledge base. This is another example of a person markup. So if you are a solo entrepreneur, there is also the possibility to add a person markup. And we have added everything, all the information about what our client Aaron ever did. We were able to document as much of his expertise as possible. So we included also the people that he knows in order to assess and enrich his own entity. This is another type of markup, article markup. So if you have a blog, you can definitely go for it. We have, again, included every type of information, what this content is about. It's called mentions attributes. So pain and suffering, in this case, the article is about child support. So you can see that we have added everything that Google needs to know inside the metadata of the article. There is also the possibility to add multiple markup nested inside one. So in this case, we can add the article markup and then nest inside the FAQ markup and the thing markup when we want to really stress out one concept that the page is about. So, okay, this is cool, but some of you might be thinking, how does this really contribute to traffic increase on organic search? So we have to think about what brings customers to a certain shop. So usually it's a very personal choice, because it might be prices, it might be an offer, it might be customer service or the business owner. So all these choices attain to one domain, which is the brand. So to stand out in present-day search, one has to assert themselves as an authoritative and credible player in their industry. And structured data here helps because we are providing all the information about a business or a person in one single place in the form of metadata and sending it over to propagate. So what we are doing is building the authority of a business as a credible player. And the result, the most immediate result that we got from structuring content in the form of metadata, when we are very lucky and also we have to craft our ideas and produce the best markup is getting a knowledge panel. So for our client Aaron, we started, he started, I think, 1.5 years ago. So he already kickstarted his strategy with structured data. And after some time, he could get a very preliminary type of knowledge panel that you can see in April 2023. And then you can see how it looks like today, because we were able to add much more information to his structured data, to his own web page. So of course, then it's not only about personal branding or structured data, because also content plays a very big role in these kind of strategies. So in these examples, we are asking to Copilot, is Express Legal Funding a legit business? Because sometimes these funding businesses are not legit. And what we are doing here is providing all the information to the search engines to be able to say, yes, this company is legit, because we have documented as much as possible inside the markup, so that search engines are able to say, yes, because I know that from the customer reviews, from their websites, and from previous cases, that this company has done well. So this was a really big accomplishment for us. That was also supported by a very thorough content strategy. So again, as we said, in an era when SEO is no longer only keyword-based, so structured data isn't enough to keep track of the industry requirements. So content must be structured so that these new generative search engines can understand and get reliable and contextual content. So this is also in the end something that is beneficial for the community of users who use this kind of generative search engines every day. So what we have here is the messy middle. This is a white paper issued by Google in 2020. So what the theory does is explaining and describing the decision-making journey of users. So it's different from a traditional funnel because it's not linear. As you can see, it has the shape of an infinite, because in fact, the path from a trigger to the actual purchase, it's not linear, but it constantly travels from exploration to evaluation phase. So users actually go through this continuous cycle until they are able to narrow down their option and finally decide to actually buy something. But this is anything might disrupt this cycle, in fact, because even strolling down the street, even a competitor billboard offering a discount can change the behavior, and just, you have to start again. So you have to be there. The power of showing up, it's essential. So you have to be there and cover each of the phases that the exploration and the evaluation phases have required to cover. So this theory still holds up, of course, but we thought that it could use some renovation, because in fact today it's generative search engines that are doing this kind of research, that are embarking on this journey between the exploration and evaluation phases. So it's them who are selecting the options for the users based, of course, on their past searches, on their behavior. So we know that they are still trying to accomplish this level of personalization, but that is the aim. So content has to meet where the user is. So we gathered some example from our small business clients. So covering the informational search intent. What is the difference between plastic bag and reusable bag? So this is an informational intent, and AI, Google AIO, was able to retrieve information and produce a useful answer for the user. Then a commercial search intent, what are the best companies who sell laundry sheets in Europe, navigational, reusable bag manufacturers in the USA, or transactional, I want to buy produce bags in the New York area. So what we want to say here is that combining structured data with good content is essential. So now I'll leave it to Aiswarya to go over the content creation process.
Thank you, Bea. So here, with the advent of the simplest ChatGPT, the way all of us have see content has drastically changed, right? We have also seen cases where you have people churning out, in mass AI content that's not reviewed, that's not checked, proofread, and many of them did show promising results in the beginning, only to tank, later on. So in the next couple of slides, we'll try to understand how, as a small business owner, you are able to make the best use of such systems without compromising on the quality, without causing any sort of disruption in the user's journey, and at the same time convince them to initiate a transaction or a transactional relationship with your brand. So we've seen different models, be it Gemini or be it ChatGPT. So we would like to also introduce WordLift's agent, who would be, the star of the next couple of slides. WordLift's agent, or what we would also like to call as our best friend, because the agent has seamlessly, integrated in as a part of our daily workflow. The way in which we, approach content, the way in which we implement, some of the simplest tasks that are crucial to SEO. And of course, all of this would be from an angle of a business owner who might not have, all the resources readily available at an arm's length, who might have a lot of challenges to overcome because they're just starting out. So the agent's intervention, the idea is to have a very positive intervention of the agent, so that these business owners are able to reach their goals in an ideal manner. So how do we go about? There are different ways to approach this interaction that you can have with such intelligent models. But we'll go through this journey by taking into account a couple of common use cases that small business owners, you, me, all of us, who are into content, who are into building their website, optimizing it for SEO, might encounter on a daily basis. So time is currency for such small businesses. So it's important for them to move fast, right? The sooner you are able to ship things, the better it is. So if such a business owner, if they want to invest in content, if they want to invest in SEO, they do have a very ambitious editorial plan in place. How do they go about doing this? Because they might not have all the resources to hire full-time resources who can spend all their time and energy on this. But with their expertise, with their domain knowledge, because they are obviously the torchbearers of the brand, with their expertise combined with the intelligence of such models, you can set out a very realistic journey that will help you accomplish all these organic goals that you've set for your brand. So first and foremost, a use case that might come to mind. Can I go to the previous slide just for a moment? The previous one. Yeah, thanks. So few of the use cases would be, if you need to set out fresh, you have ideas, but you need to put them all together, and fill the puzzle to get the picture. Again, you can, make use of the agent to kind of, do all the heavy lifting while you sit and monitor and supervise what's going on. Then another case is you are already in the journey, you know how, the content, all of it is in place, or what we would like to call as the core concepts, the pillar pages, the pillar ideas of a brand, all of that is in place. But now you would like to tap into a broader demographic of audience. You would like to, explore and write about topics that are not exactly related to your core ideas, but reaching out to a broader audience will kind of help with the branding and, the expertise or the authority of your site. Another use case is if you have, very semantically interrelated concepts that you need to address, but is slightly tricky to do so, right? So as an example, you can see on the screen, if we are writing about competitor benchmarking tool, it's very obvious that, when you're writing about such a topic, it is also imperative to cover things like competitor price monitoring, competitor price tracking. Essentially, they are all the same, but these are all different ways in which a user can find you, right? So it's essential for, like Bea said in the beginning, it's essential for you to show up. So when you show up, you have to do so in a way that, it makes sense. And of course, it doesn't land into the dreaded pit of, plagiarism / duplication / cannibalizing, because that might not be the best strategy. You might end up in unfavorable situations. So how do you tackle such, closely related concepts? The short answer would be customer intent, right? When you tackle different kind of intent, be it information, be it transaction, there is a change that you can bring about in the content that you put out. Now, who can help you get there? Again, agent can be a help over there. Then you might also have cases where there are tasks, there are content that can be automated to a large extent. For instance, if you're writing about a person, a place, or a thing, they're all factual content, right? Facts don't change. So do you really need to spend a lot of time thinking of creative ways to write this? Maybe not. The thing there to focus mainly would be on, presenting the content in a useful and better, in a nice way to users, so that, they can get all the data at a glance. So these are some, common things that a lot of business owners must be facing. But the bottom line that we would still like to highlight here is the magic of human in the loop, right? Rather than, relying on, or, keeping your fingers crossed on the output that such models and such machines give, what would make a huge impact is when you take control of the reins. You decide what must the agent work on or the model work on, and then get as close to the output as you had in your mind. So when you write something, you want the output to be in a certain way, right? How can you guide the agent in a way that, it gets there? It gets there, and that too in fewer steps, in fewer interactions, because you don't want to spend 1 hour, telling the agent, okay, this is right, that's wrong. No, this is not what I want. Redo it again. It's frustrating for you. And after a point, you can see a lot of models, giving the same repetitions, the same iterations in different times. Let's not go there, right? So how can you do that? With better prompts, with better inputs. More than often, some people might forget that the quality of the output that you get from these models is as good as your input. The clearer you are with your instructions, the more precise you are. The way you guide these models has a huge role in how you get the output. So for instance, you can see that I'm writing an article about an airport in Colorado. Today it's in Colorado, tomorrow it's not going to be in Brazil, right? It's not going to change. It's a factual content. So you have the liberty to spend less time on such content pieces, because they are essentially talking about things that don't change. They're facts. So the direction that we would like to give such models would be that, listen, this is what we're talking about. Maintain a semi-formal tone of voice. We don't want it to be too casual, because people need this information. At the same time, we don't want it to be too formal, like black suit businessy. You can keep it, a tad relaxed. Then the target audience of such an article would be people who would be utilizing this airport for their commute. So they need to know information about the airport, the amenities, the facilities. Is there parking? Is there a place where I can get Wi-Fi? So these are some questions that this article ideally should answer, because that's how you get these people to come to the site. You explain how these things work. Then another important part of working with such models would be giving context to them, like I said. But more than often, a lot of models, because they are not humans, they are not able to distinguish what is right and what is wrong. And more than often, these models result in what we would like to call as hallucinations. They give you incorrect information, but they do so with confidence that you've never seen before. And when you question it, they are like, oh, okay, you're wrong. Sorry, you're right. What I said was wrong. So how do we, make sure that your agent speaks only what's right, the truth? Give them sample data. It can be huge chunks of content that is credible and that is verified. It can be credible sources, the websites, right? Government websites, or maybe in this case the airport website as such. Give them that okay, this is the source of data that you need to rely on, because these models, they're very intelligent, they have tons of data in their head. But how do you sift through all this noise and come to that exact piece of information that would be helpful for your content? Give them context, give them idea, use this data so that what you get as an output is much more refined, is much more closer to your expectations. So this is another example is when you're writing about something that's very niche, like a product page that you can see in the second image. We're talking all about a particular brand, a particular software. So you need to give it slightly more more number of instructions. The clearer, the better what you get. Now, the last component of the workflow, or whatever you would like to call it, would be a feedback loop. We consider this as important because this is the easiest way to limit the number of interactions you have with the model, and at the same time ensure top-notch quality in the output. So as an example here, I tell the agent that, okay, we are writing about this particular topic, refer this particular website to understand the features, all about the brand, the tone of voice, because that's important, right? Write a particular section first. Let's review it. Based on my feedback, move on to the next sections. This is also to make sure that you don't get this big bundles of content that needs to be reworked 10 times. When you go in this manner, most likely in the next 2-3 steps, the agent would be more than capable to give a fully fledged article that just needs your review and a few tweaks here and there. So giving clear instructions, sample data to work on to give more context, and of course a well placed feedback loop in place will help you make the best use of these models, right? Because we should be in control. It's not that we use what the output the model gives. Rather, you train the model in such a way that you get the output that you want. So that's the gist of making the best of such intelligent models. And yeah. So the first and the most common, the most obvious example, right? Content optimizing. You have a content that is all there, well in place, it's live, it's indexed, it's not working. So we need to optimize it. Maybe the angle that the article has now is not working. So you need a better perspective. You need to identify a few blind spots. How can I make this better? Am I losing? Am I missing out some information? All of these. So one obvious way is you go to the SERP, you see who is outranking you, and then understand the gap. At the same time, you can also use these models, and you can think from a user's perspective, like, what am I missing in this? Can you help me identify the gaps? And then this is the angle that I'm thinking of, but if you think that something is more effective, please suggest the same. The idea is not that we will use the approach that the model says. Rather, get all the information, get all the ideas, so that you can think of something even better. Maybe not even for this article, but you can use this for something else, right? So keep your doors open, keep the gates open, so that you have you're dipping in creative juice to approach new things in a better manner. Now, moving on to another use case. This is again the factual content that we saw before, right? The airport. Now, if you notice, you see it's a rich repository of information, right? You have everything about the airport, starting from history to the facts, the statistics. We are not going to use all of it, right? Because it doesn't make sense. We need to only cherry pick the one that is most relevant to the article. You don't have to spend a lot of time on these articles, because there are only so many ways in which you can say that an airport is situated in this part of the country. There are only so many ways in which you can say that apple is red, apple is tasty. You can't get too creative there. Leave such pieces of content to these agents so that they can do what they do best, while you sit and supervise and then move things in a much more faster manner. So this is one particular example of how you can make use of these models. And a few other use cases would be ideas. Now, this is a personal favorite for us, because think of 10 people sitting in a room brainstorming. There's a lot of noise, a lot of chaos going on. But if you give the right inputs to the model, you're able to get fantastic ideas, and that too not spending like hours or days thinking of what do I do, how do I approach this. Leave it to the model. And in this case, the list of the articles that you see are actually pages which are live, which are published. And these pages, the idea, the content, all of that came from the agent, right? Because you guide it and then you refine it and then you make it live. So you're telling the agent that you had given me all of these amazing ideas. I want you to have a similar line of thought when you're approaching this particular keyword. Give me some main keyword variations, some semantic queries that I can target here, all to make the article much more richer. So if you want to focus on other aspects of your business, you're running out of time, you want to explore more ideas, go for it. So this is an extension of the output of such agents. You can get a rich set of data on how you can approach a particular page, and that's quite crucial for people who are a little hard on time. So this one slide, we set it out to kind of also throw light on how you can approach content using the agent, right? So when you right now, one common trend that we see is that when you go to the SERP, you search for something, you have 10 pages that list or that appear, maybe 8 out of them have very similar content, right? So what makes you stand out? Why should a user stay on your site as compared to someone else? What is it that you're doing differently, or what is it that you're providing to the user in differently than your competitors? So that's where the value of the importance of providing value to your users come into play. I mean, when you approach marketing, it's very likely to say that, oh, giving FOMO to the user. Oh, there are so many problems, but don't worry, our tool can help you solve it. This is great, but they are not interested in the problem. They are interested in the solution. So when you approach content, do so in a way that helps users. And by this, you can see that you're talking about the big challenge of data overload and analysis paralysis. Fine, this is something they might already be facing, they might already know about this. So how can you provide value? Give them solutions, suggest them solutions. Maybe they might not help them, but at least they know that what I can expect from this page is a problem and a solution to that problem. You're talking about tips to implement something. Tell them why it is important, why it is not important, what are the things to avoid, and what are the best practices in implementing something like this. So rather than making them run from pillar to post, you're providing all of this information in a capsule form in your content. And the best part is that you don't have to break your brain while writing this. You give sufficient inputs to the models, and they are able to come up with such refined pieces of content that actually makes a difference, not just for search engines in terms of ranks, but also for the user as well. So users first, marketing next, and then SEO follows seamlessly. again, knowledge graph. So this is a very niche use case that we see. So like Bea explained in the beginning, you have knowledge graphs that are, basically data points that are connected in a manner which makes a lot of sense, which gives a very clear picture for search engines on what your website is about, right? So if you're looking at a finance website, you will have, a lot of finance related terms as a part of its knowledge graph, giving very clear indication to search engines that if someone is searching for similar topics, kind of makes sense to show this website up there. So having just a knowledge graph and then forgetting about it might not be the best way, right? Because same works for pages and content. So when you have new things that are there on the website, new topics you tackle, new pieces of content that you add, new ideas, it also makes sense that you also enrich the knowledge graph as you go along, because it makes the content much more easy to to be discoverable, and also much more contextually relevant for search engines to just pull up and show. So do you have to actually go through, okay, which are the entities, what do I need to target? Give the necessary details to the agent and they can take care of that. Now, coming back to a point of, trying to automate or move faster, some things that matter to SEO, meta tags come into play, right? Because you don't have to, get too creative, waste a lot of time trying to figure out, okay, how do I write the title tag and meta description? Maybe if you don't have an SEO background, it can be even more challenging, right? So maybe you might have something that's not very great, so Google will replace it anyway, or you might not add anything at all. So keeping in mind that we follow the best practices, you can give so here it talks about an event, right? So it makes sense to add the location, the time, the date, whatever matters. So the output that you get, of course, needs to be refined. We always need to refine it and review it, but at the same time, it's a great starting point to have something to work with. In the last part, we talk about internal linking. So everybody loves backlinks, right? But internal linking still remains so underrated and so important to kind of, give like a very macro idea of how your site architecture looks like to search engines, which is quite important when it comes to, letting them know what your website is all about. Maybe it's easier. So in the previous slide, we saw that we are able to connect different entities on WordPress using WordLift. So that's one simplest way of getting an internal link on your site. You go to the plugin and then you choose the right entities. If you want to go a step further and then find out more related concepts that can be used for internal linking, again, an agent can come into play there. Maybe you can think of like creating a new section that talks about related articles about this particular concept. That's again equally rich for the page, right? So if I'm talking about something related to convertible settlement, I mean, the agent can take care of what are the best articles that the users might also be interested to read about, and then that's how you go about saving time, but at the same time getting articles that actually matter.
Right. So how do we measure the impact of such a mixed strategy where we have structured data and content that play an equally big role? So of course there are different aspects. So we do not only want to track the usual clicks, impressions, click-through rate, or sessions, but we want to also keep track of how much brand awareness we have raised, the impact that we have made on the share of voice of the brand, of the site. So we will see a few of the typical effects that having a website optimized in terms of structured data and content can get. For instance, one of the typical effects of publishing structured data inside a knowledge graph is the increase in the number of keywords that a website can rank for. So this is because knowledge graphs are enablers for search engines to understand better a content, so there are more chances that pages can rank for more keywords than before. So in this case, for this specific website, we were able to get an increase, average increase this is a 1 year work of plus 24.39%. So new keywords for the pages, for optimized pages. This is what we got from the work of me for the Knowledge Graph conference that both me and Aiswarya mentioned. So, I mean, the biggest achievement here was to be able to get the event-specific panel with the possibility to buy tickets from different sources and also to get information from different sources. So search engine aggregated the data that we provided and understood that the content was crafted so it could get the data, sufficient data to build a knowledge panel. Here we are seeing some of the other feature from some small business owners ranking in top position for generic keywords. This is one of the typical SEO metrics that we also track. So gaining rich results and ranking for top positions. So Aiswarya might also want to talk about this because she took care of these specific clients. So I think very quickly, because we are really running out of time.
Yeah. So again, this is a solo entrepreneur, the business. So in the first graph, you can see like a year-over-year comparison. So when the client started off, although they had good content in place, they didn't have any structured data on the site. So the impact that you see a year later is how after having a knowledge graph, structured data, annotations, all of that in place. So having this blended into the content did have a lot of difference. And in particular, when we take the case of entity pages that we saw previously, they are again points in the knowledge graph. So these pages are the physical form of individual points in your knowledge graph. You can even make use of them to create content, have them indexed, and they are quite rich for that matter. And the results that we see for such pages also were amazing. With time, the growth was quite evident as when we do a quick comparison. And this is also an example of another small business owner who had very humble starts, and we saw numbers doubling as time went on.
Thank you. So to recap, structured data and content, search engine spotlight. So structured data can act like a roadmap for search engine, like a magnet for content, making it easier for them to understand the content of your website. Credibility booster. So content can be an opportunity to showcase the expertise, even if you have own a small business. Local hero status. Structured data and content can be especially helpful for local businesses. So we are clearly labeling the location inside the markup so that search engines knows what areas you are serving and what specific services you are providing. Brand storytelling. So content goes beyond information. So it's an opportunity to tell your brand, showcase your values, and as we said, having more chances that customers or potential users will jump onto your website and actually be interested in what you're selling. So structured data and content can empower your small business website and rise above the noise. So not only be seen, but to be remembered. And this is what we also strive to do at WordLift every day. So we hope this was really helpful for every one of you. Let's keep the conversation going. We've got a page dedicated to this webinar, and you can also continue chatting with me and Aiswarya. I don't know if there is much time left for questions, but this is the time.
All right. Thanks so much, Beatrice and Aishwarya. We do have a number of questions in the chat, so I don't know if we'll get through everything, but let's take a look. So first question is for someone who has a restaurant location, which is a franchise. And the question is, if I have a restaurant location, do you need access to the website for the markup? We have a restaurant that is not ranking locally, and we have citation sites, but an issue is ranking.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, what we start with usually, it depends. So we work with any CMS, so independently from where you are hosting your website, we can work with it. So there are no limitations. So in fact, we work also with franchises and any type of business. I mean, structured data, I mean, every page is eligible for structured data independently from the nature of the business. Of course, it has to be legit, but yeah, no limitation.
Perfect. And next question is pretty long. So how do you suggest we go about demonstrating the effects or value of markup beyond rich results, as long as Google's Search Console doesn't provide any info about AI overviews and Google Lens, Circle, and Map searches?
Yeah, so that is a really good question. We are in fact at work on that. So we know that most SEO tools, not even Search Console, are able to, I mean, determine if queries have been impacted by the new SGs. So there are some alternatives that we can use in the meantime. So, I mean, for us at WordLift, we are preparing as if every SERP will be impacted. So what we do is we also manually check the core SERP results for the key queries for our clients. Or you can check, I mean, pixel depth. There are some SEO tools that let you do that. And I mean, it's fair to say that SERPs that have been impacted by Google AIO have occupy bigger spaces. Sometimes even this AIO appears for queries that used to have rich snippets. But what also we are doing, I mean, beside what we do the most is manually checking SERPs. Another thing that one can do is to monitor the number of words in the query string. So you can go through Google Search Console and check the longest queries that are appearing and that you are ranking for, because typically right now it's more prompts than queries for these new generative search engines, and Google transformed the keyword into a longer search intent. So that might also be reflected in Google Search Console. So this is how we are acting in the meantime. I hope this answers.
Okay, great. Looks like a few more. Are there any search engines that WordLift is not compatible with?
No, I mean, we just, our software applies structured data to your web pages, and your web pages are, I mean, eligible to rank, you know, for any search engine. So also here, there are no limitation of use.
Cool. All right. Another long question. Since tools like ChatGPT and Gemini only provide feedback about facts or relations that have been found in natural language, text, voice, video, and not those found in embedded markup, how do we demonstrate the ROI of schema markup for such machines?
That's also interesting. So I think that, I mean, since SGs are becoming, are assessing themselves as the future of search, so this question might be also maybe transformed into how will we be tracking the impact of SEO in the future, assuming that SEO will still be an industry in the coming years, which we hope it does. So I mean, the essence of structured data is to help content gain visibility, as we said. So being featured on SGs will be a requirement. So it will be vital. So it will still hold the same value. So just like keyword-based search, searching on generative search engines will become a reality. So just tracking your ROI as you're tracking ROI for search as you are doing now. And also one thing that comes into my mind is that soon these SGs will start including sponsored results. And so we will have an idea of the value of being included and mentioned on SGs. So when we will know the price of the sponsored results inside the generated answers, also the organic mention and click will become maybe more obvious.
Great. These are great questions. I have another long one for you. The recently leaked Google API does make mention of Google automatically extracting and annotating entities and a whole lot more from content. Looking ahead, do you feel embedding markup on web pages will stay a thing, or that smart systems will deprecate the annotation of content by people?
Right. So I think that I mean, Google has always decided which pages to include in its index, so which pages to index and categorize. So without markup, it's also possible to rank and to be featured on Google. It might take a little bit more time if content is not well structured, but it's the same thing. So I mean, we know that Google at some point starts breaking down the information and the content inside the web page, and eventually insert this information into its knowledge graph. But still, I think that even in a scenario when I mean, machines will take over, I still think that website owners will have to give indications to Google. I still think that giving as much indication, as much information inside the markup ourselves as website owners is still important. And also there might be, I mean, specific situations or details or nuances that require specific annotation. So, for example, we have in the past crafted a markup for an Italian energy provider that wanted to create a knowledge graph for their electric charging station. So there was no way that Google could do that independently. So we did it, and we facilitated the access to this information for the users, which was also a service that we were able to make to, I mean, Italian electric car owners. But if Google had to do that independently, it wouldn't have the impact that it had. So, I mean, even with AI doing the heavy lifting, I still think that the human effort to refine the entities, it's still something that will be a requirement, at least for some time.
Great. All right. It looks like we are about out of time. So I want to thank Beatrice and Aiswarya so much. Thank you for today's presentation. I think this is very timely given the all of what's happening with AI and the changes to SEO. So if you have any questions, please follow up with Beatrice and Aiswarya here. And just a quick reminder, today's presentation was recorded, so tomorrow morning you'll get an email with a link to this presentation as well as a copy of the slides as well. So I want to thank everyone for joining and have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.